Now I do promise you I will come back to this. It's still sitting here humming in anticipation of me returning to it. But I've been sidetracked as I've been going through tidying everything up. Hello, little dog. I came across something I really do want to share with you, and some of you may remember this little thing, my rolling road, and they may also remember another video I did with a conveyor belt which had 47 million views, and not many more now. I think 47 million people have watched it and there's no one else to watch it. So here is Meccano, another passion of mine. I had a few bits as a kid, and then when eBay came along I started buying lots and lots of it. So let me give you a little bit of an example. What I'll do is I'll put the camera on the tripod and I shall give you a bit of history about this. Now, believe it or not, Meccano was invented in 1898, and the first Meccano sets were sold in 1901. Now, they were unpainted back then and apparently quite rough. So in 1927 they introduced the coloured set to mark 25 years of Meccano, and I think this set is probably about 1950s. But as you can see, you get wheels, you get girders, what else? These are axles, but I'll show you on the main set. This isn't a complete set. What happens is I have been buying bits off eBay over the years, so I've probably got enough bits to complete this set. But what I like is you get these lovely instruction books with it, and they show you basically how to make various bits and pieces. And the bigger the sets you have, the more complicated things you can make. Here's something. I mean, you can make this lovely, I don't know what it is, grabber, and you wind it up. There's all strings that will pick this up and drop it down, and that will turn. And the instructions they give you are really quite complex for a child. I think this is more of a father's toy, but great fun. I've never made any of these things. I've always just made things I've wanted. If you bought this accessory kit, I think this is from the late 50s. An accessory kit gives you loads of extra things like cogs and extra long axles, and it enables you to make a whole set of bigger things. Wonderful things like this windmill. I don't know what that is. That looks like some kind of dockyard gantry. Here we are, proper complicated stuff now. Wow, look at that. Again, all the instructions, you can see everything's numbered and it will refer to a part number, and it takes you through every stage. You'll probably find on YouTube people who have made all these things, and they will be up there if you Google Meccano. So moving on, in 1964 the colours changed to yellow and black. This is more my childhood era, probably in the late 60s, early 70s I would have been given a set. So, and they're using this terrible polystyrene. But what happens is you could build 72 working models with this one, and this was set number 4. With this set number 4, you'll be able to make every model in this book. It starts with the simpler models and builds up to the slightly more complicated ones. And you'll see this actually features the introduction of an electric motor, and I'll show you some of the power sources a little bit later, because they actually did steam and clockwork as well. So this is set number 4, and they tantalizingly show you all the extra bits that you can buy to expand your set. Some wonderful pieces. So you could spend your life just trying to get hold of all the different pieces they have here. I don't know how many pieces there are. There's a wonderful set called set 10, which is in a wooden drawed case. Many years ago, I think it was £1,000. I think you probably have to pay many thousands of pounds now. But you'd pull out a wooden drawer and it would have one of everything or two of everything. You could build anything. Now, the first Meccano sets were called Mechanics Made Easy, and later on it got known as Meccano. The name Meccano also derives from the words make and know. So that's Meccano, made in a factory in Liverpool, England. So let me show you some pieces. The standard angle iron, all made of steel, and all the holes are drilled, and apparently bits of Meccano from 100 years ago will still fit bits of Meccano made today, even though it's not made in England. So you also have girders. So I think these are 1970 pieces, these bits. That thin bit of steel. And it's also flexible, so you can bend it round things, but I never used to like to bend my Meccano because the paint would come off. So, and you'd also, here we have, these are a selection of shorter girders. Again, the green ones are the older ones. Maybe the silver ones, I don't know. Silver, I think silver might be 70s, but these green ones are probably 1950s, and the yellow ones, oh, they're probably quite 70s and 80s. So with the colour of Meccano, you can actually tell the age. Now, see what else. These are boiler parts. You get a boiler end cap and rolled in steel, and a smaller one. Never used that one. And an even smaller one. Makes it look like for a whistle. All different sizes of sheet steel, so you can put for side pieces. This is a hinged piece, which is quite interesting. You don't see many of those about. These are just, again, a selection of, well, that's a semicircular one, there's some triangle ones, and there's some oblong ones. Moving on to wheels. These are the probably 1970s wheels. These are ones I remember as a child. Plastic wheel, little brass centre with a locking screw, because then that would lock on to an axle. You have steel axles, and you do up the little grub screw and that locks it in place. Blue wheels, and later, well, this is the black is an early one. I think that's an early one, and so the yellow is about a 70s one. And I managed to get some rubber tyres, and you can actually put those tyres on those wheels. So if you're going to make a vintage car, that would be absolutely fantastic. These are really solid rubber. And smaller ones. Oh, I think they've. I'm going to have to put them somewhere warm. They're for the smaller wheel, but they seem to have gone out of shape a bit. You also get base plates. Don't quite know why they make these awkward shapes. I've never, but you can see the paint. The paint can come off quite easily, and they can rust if they get moist. So these are the base plates. And there's also rectangular ones. Here we have a range of different, I don't know what you'd call them, struts, and weird small shaped plates. And they're all used in the different plans. And here we have some more. These are from about the late 60s, 70s, these ones. Really useful if you're inventing. You also have a range of small wheels that can be used as pulleys, beautifully made in brass with the locking screw on again. So you can get rubber tyres for these. There's one with a rubber tyre on, with a lovely tread. Locking screw again. So you can put that on there and you have the starts of a car. Now, axles. These are beautifully steel made axles. That's a really long one, that one. And a handle, again made of steel, but axle the same diameter as the axle, so you can put locking nuts on it, you can put wheels on it, and you can turn it into a handle. So if you're making a crane, you've got something to wind up the hook. And talking about making a crane with a hook, look at these lovely hooks. These are beautifully made, quite heavy. I think that one's cast. I don't know whether it's cast in some kind of zinc. It feels like the sort of stuff they make matchbox cars out of. But they're quite heavy duty hooks. And these I found, these are quite rare. These are windmill sails. If you're making a windmill from the Meccano plan book, you might need these sails. So that's that layer. This is a homemade cardboard box. Right, see what we got in this one. These sorts of wheels here are from I think it's probably a 1980s Meccano. And Meccano changed ownership an awful lot. And they had factories originally in France, Spain and Argentina, as well as England. In 1971, the English Meccano got sold off to Airfix, and the other factories got sold off to, I think, an American company. So they sort of separated their own ways, with it still being made in France. But in 1978, due to union threats and pressures, where they didn't want to have any job losses, Airfix closed the factory in 1978, and that was the end of production of Meccano in the UK. That's a very lovely piece, isn't it? A little fan. Now, one of the most exciting things I find about Meccano are the fact that you can get these brass cogs. And if I ever saw these, I'd buy them. And these are actually quite valuable now, because they're beautifully made and you can make all kinds of things. So if I get that a bit closer, you'll see, I mean, precision engineering. And these are brass. They've got the locking screw on the back, so you can put them on the axle. And there's also one of those with the teeth on the side. So again, if your creative imagination wants you to turn something to over right angles, so you can change the spinning direction of that into a spinning direction of that, I don't know, maybe for a steering box or any kind of piece of machinery, but that is beautifully made and great fun. This is a worm gear. Again, that could control, if that was going round, that could control that. Well, the idea of this is to pull something along or push it back, because you can get a flat piece of Meccano with teeth in to sit on that, so as that goes up and down, it moves the carriage. There are some more cogs. I told you, I got carried away buying them. Some of them look brand new and haven't been used. Here's something else. A chain. You actually can have a cog, and you can have chain drive. On my little conveyor belt, that's what I use. Chain drive makes something very flexible. Now everything is held together with little tiny nuts and bolts. There we go. And what else? But again, the flexibility they give you, look, there's a really long bolt, and here is a lovely long piece of thread, a little brass pulley, and you do it all up with the Meccano screwdriver and the Meccano spanner. And inevitably, as you're doing the screw up, you push that into your hand and it bleeds. Also a selection of bands, drive bands, different lengths, and they can go around a pulley, so a motor can drive something. Early Meccano power. Meccano did a deal with Marmod, so this is a little Marmod engine, steam engine, connected to Meccano fitting base. So basically, you would have your steam engine and you'd put a drive band on the steam engine, and that would bolt and run your Meccano. The Meccano got very modern. It brought out a clockwork motor. I should wind it up with the key, but this is a little clockwork motor. It's quite strong as well. So again, you'd put a pulley around that, or you could put a cog on here. That little wheel is just held on with a locking screw, and there you go. That's your clockwork motor. Oh, stop it now, put it back in the box. Progressing even further forward into late 60s, early 70s, we move on to the geared electric motor. A little switch on the back, it's stop in the middle, you've got forward one way and reverse the other. So if you're making a crane, that's ideal. Of course, you don't get any power supply with it. You would have to hook this up to a battery box, which takes loads of big batteries, or some kind of little transformer. I think this is about 9 volt, these, but it's a geared motor. It has some kind of gearing in it, so it's not dynamically fast, but it is quite strong. So that's pretty much my Meccano, and I've also collected various books because I like the artwork. I like the designs of what they've made. I never made any of these things. They look far too complicated for me to make. So thank you for watching, and I will be back on the car soon, but in the meantime, this was Meccano. 2 happy kids. Bye!